Now, there are a whole bunch of different types of cars in the world. There is this typical front engine, front wheel drive layout. You can get a front engine, rear wheel drive layout. You can get a front engine, all wheel drive. You can get a mid engine, a rear engine with all wheel drive, etc. But what if you leave a bunch of engineers in an automotive company and tell them you've got 2 weeks to come up with the craziest, most absurd thing that you can make? No rules, no regulations, no emissions, just do whatever you like. This is the kind of Frankenstein monster that they come up with. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the Polo RX. But it doesn't have an engine under the bonnet. It has an engine where that back seat is. Now let me quickly tell you about that engine. Essentially, it's a 1.8 litre unit, the same that you get in the Ameo Cup race cars and the Polo GTI. It makes, in this state of tune, in this car, about 240 horsepower, 345 Newton meters of torque too. And from that turbocharger, it makes about 17.5 psi of boost, and it puts all that power through this gearbox down to the rear wheels, and that's the magic of this car. Of course, to put all that power down, what you get are a set of slick tires and a set of forged wheels that Volkswagen Motorsport developed along with Wheels India Limited, that not only make them stronger but also lighter than the wheels the Ameo Cup car has been using. Now, while playing a game on an Xbox or watching the Fast and the Furious would make us believe that putting the engine in the back isn't quite big a deal, it actually involves a lot of R&D, some of which is actually quite straightforward, come to think of it. Now, what Volkswagen have basically done is taken the whole subframe from the front and welded it to the back. They've cut out the whole floor in the back. They welded the whole front end in. So the engine is still the way it was. Of course, they've still got the radiator up front because that really doesn't make any difference. But the steering box, for example, the steering rack is still in place here. Of course, it's locked in. It doesn't really move, but it does help sort of adjust the suspension for toe settings. You've got the drive shafts here, again, the same ones that are on the car in standard front-wheel drive format, but they have actually changed a lot of the geometry back here too. So you've got these independent adjustable struts in the back. Of course, you've got a massive roll cage, some engine strengthening pieces here too, and it's a completely custom job. The crazy thing, of course, is all of this artistry was done in just 2 weeks, and yes, this is made in India. It's made by the chaps at the VW factory down in Chakan in Pune, near Pune in Maharashtra. It's all made in India. It's all been done as a, well, as Volkswagen likes to call it, a winter project. All of this is very impractical. It's very, very loud. It's very, very hot inside, but I'm sure it's an absolute hoot. Let's get in the driver's seat. Go through the ignition sequence and the car comes to life. And the first thing that hits you is that this thing is as raw as it gets. Now, as you can clearly see from the amount of sweat on my face, this thing is very, very hot, and I have to scream because it's very, very loud. The engine is about 3 feet behind me. It's absolutely bonkers. Now, I have driven a whole bunch, in fact all of the VW works cars, the Ameo Cup, the Polo Cup, Vento Cup, etc. And this is by far the craziest of the lot. It still has the sequential gearbox, the 6-speed gearbox, the paddle shifters, and it's really, really fast. In fact, if I can get the car straight a little. That mid-range performance is phenomenal. Now the advantage, of course, in this car is there's no real weight on the front. While the normal cars are 65% in the front and 35% in the back in terms of weight distribution. This one is 45 in the front and 55 at the back. So all the weight is back there, which means you get a slightly light front end, but that also means you get a very, very crisp and pinpoint steering system. It just points and it goes. Now this might not be as fast as some of the other race cars they've made, but those cars are serious things. This car is absolute mad bonkers fun. It is, however, a little scary. With all the weight in the back, in the middle of the corner, if you do accelerate, it will step early cars of the 1980s. Short wheelbase, mad amounts of turbo power. One last pull. Oh, that blow off right here. And that straight pipe exhaust. What an experience. And to come to think of it, this is made in India. Oof. VW Motorsport has done a damn good job with this. As unforgiving and brutal as the Polo RX is, it is also immensely lovable. And the best part though is the fact that if you do approach Volkswagen Motorsport and ask them to build you one, they will. And not only will they build you one, for track use of course, in this spec with 240 horsepower, but they can also build you one with figures way upward of 300 horsepower and reliable horsepower, not the kind of stuff that destroys engines. In fact, they can even make you an aero package with a rear wing that will give you real usable downforce and a front splitter that will help you turn the car into a corner even quicker. And while there is a big 30 to 40 lakh rupee price tag involved, if you live somewhere near a racetrack and want to feel alive every time you press the start button, this is probably a great tool for the job.